The specialists develop super satellites for a global network in space and can look behind the scenes. Skuld is a window to everything that is there or is yet to come. Fly with us through time to better understand today and tomorrow. You've always wanted that. Skuld, a look into the future.
Our world today is not the world God wants it to be. One of the reasons, which will surprise many, is that our planet, its governments, and its peoples are all living under the weight of Satan's rule. From the beginning of mankind's existence to today, human history is the written record of what it means to live under the rule of the devil. Yet that rule is coming to an end, and what a difference that will make.
Every Sunday at 9 a.m. on CBC TV 8, tune in for Tomorrow's World, sponsored by the Living Church of God.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Hey there, it's Mahalia. I want to share something that might be really helpful. If you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, depressed, or lonely and have no one to talk to, call Lifeline Barbados. We all face struggles at times in our lives. You're not alone. There's no need to feel ashamed or embarrassed. It's okay to reach out for support. Lifeline Barbados is completely confidential. No one else will know you called. They're there to offer a caring ear and guidance without judgment. And fellas, I want you to know asking for help is a true sign of strength. It takes real courage to reach out. You can also call Lifeline Barbados if you're worried about loved ones who are struggling and you need advice on how to support them. There's a saying, a problem shared is a problem halved, but not everyone has someone they can confide in. That's why Lifeline Barbados exists, to be there for you or someone you care about during tough times. Save this number. Lifeline Barbados is just a call away. Remember, you can reach out whenever you need to talk.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar site.
Barbados, get up! Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
I join in saying the very same to you wherever you are. Good morning to you. Welcome to today. Today is Tuesday, the 16th of September 2025. My name is Pearson Bowen. It is wonderful having you company. I wish you a terrific today indeed, one filled with promises that you realize, promises of something good. And so I want you also to set about yourself to do something good for someone today, because someone is depending on you, and you can do this. You truly can do this. So thanks to you watching us on our streams on Facebook, YouTube, and our website, cbc.bb. To all of you, thank you for waking up. Share the show, share the love, tell others about us, and bring them along to share in what we do. And most of all, talk back to us. We love to see your comments. We love to hear your greetings. We love all of those kinds of things, because we are a family. We got that? We are a family. And so to all of you, I thank you for joining and being a part of the family. Of course, if you know of something or someone, or if you just want to reach out and connect with the show, you can send us an email. That email address is morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's right on your screen. morninbarbados@cbc.bb. We shall respond to you. And so we encourage you to send us your tips, your ideas, your thoughts, right there to that email address, morninbarbados@cbc.bb, and thanks for sharing and doing so. So, having said all of that, let me just tell you what's coming up today. Coming up today in our conversations on CARICOM, I'm thrilled because I can't wait to... I'm living through the experiences of Ambassador Kabashel, literally, and so he's going to be taking us onto the African continent because there was a recently held second Africa-CARICOM summit, and that was a global summit with a lot of potential, and certainly what was realized, that's a question we have to ask. And then there was something else significant happening in Africa. You need to stick around to find out. So Ambassador Kamashon will share the stories and the reports and the possibilities, the potential, and everything else that makes us feel richer and better as people of African descent. We continue to this morning to look at Alzheimer's, as this is Alzheimer's Awareness Month. Remember the theme, ask about dementia, ask about Alzheimer's. And so we want to take further look into the condition just ahead of a public lecture today and some other activities that they're hosting, the Barbados Association of Alzheimer's hosting for the rest of the month. And how can we, as a region, reduce our fear of artificial intelligence? There is a man who knows how to do so. And so he'll join us this morning as he explores with us through what he knows, how we as a region can embrace artificial intelligence and what are the potentials that we can be realizing as a consequence of that embrace. So there's a lot to get to, but let's get started this morning as usual on Tuesday morning in our conversations on CARICOM. Ambassador Kamashong, welcome home.
Thank you, Pearson.
I'm sure you got that when you landed on the continent of Africa as well. Welcome home.
Oh man, we got as we went to Ethiopia,
yes.
The Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, to give it its full name, in northeastern Africa, an amazing country. But the special welcome home came when we went from Addis Ababa to Shashamane. And as we landed in the neighboring airport, we had a tremendous welcome, both from the Ethiopian people, but also from the Caribbean nationals resident in that part of Ethiopia, especially our Rastafari brothers and sisters.
So you know where the story is going, folks. You know where the story is going. Let's get to the summit first.
Yeah.
It's the second such summit, and it brought together shakers and movers from Africa and the Caribbean. Let's talk a little bit about that, why it was that second, what was on the agenda, and what did we really achieve coming out of it?
Well, that summit was held on the 7th of September, which is Africa-CARICOM Day. And why we have an Africa-CARICOM Day? Because back in 2021, we decided, CARICOM, we, the African Union, decided that we really needed to develop this relationship between the two regions as we forge a common future for ourselves. So this was the first in-person summit. And so the CARICOM countries all took delegations to Ethiopia. Barbados, I must say, took this very seriously. We had a very comprehensive delegation, not only the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but also the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister's office, the Ministry of Health, Dr. Jerome Walcott, because we took the opportunity of the summit to also stage a special health conference. Barbados is involved in something called the Health Development Partnership for Africa and the Caribbean. But a very important part of our delegation was representatives of the Rastafari movement. So we had, as part of our delegation, Sister Kaya Benjamin of the 12 Tribes of Israel, Ras Anthony Straker, also of the 12 Tribes, and Ras Steve Reed, who represented the Caribbean Rastafari organization. So that's a full picture. But the summit on the 7th brought together the leadership of Africa and the Caribbean. And there were many speakers, but I selected two to give you a little taste of what transpired at the summit. Basically a main speaker for Africa was the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali, and a main speaker for CARICOM was our incoming chair of CARICOM, Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew of St. Kitts and Nevis. But basically, I have the outcomes document from the summit, and I can give you a very quick idea of some of the things we covered. First of all, we covered the operationalization of a memorandum of understanding that has been signed between CARICOM and the African Union as to how we're going to work together, how we're going to set up joint committees to address different things. We looked at areas like the direct flight, maritime and airline linkages. Of course, we looked at health, we looked at youth exchanges, culture, the arts. Very importantly, we looked at the idea of the African Union establishing an office in the Caribbean at the CARICOM Secretariat, and CARICOM establishing an office in Ethiopia at the headquarters of the African Union. So, we could go further into some of the concrete outcomes, but I would like viewers to get a little taste of what that summit felt like through snippets of these speakers.
So if we could, and if not, they'll tell me in my ear for sure, about some of those speeches. I know I saw a clip that you would have shared with us from Dr. Terence Drew in his address to the Union. And so standing as a Caribbean, unfortunately, they're unable to play. And so, but standing as a leader of the Caribbean, the incoming chair of CARICOM, to speak on behalf of the region and the leaders of the region, first of all, were they all there?
No, not all of the countries were represented, not necessarily at the prime ministerial level, but for CARICOM, of course, Prime Minister Motley, Prime Minister Ralph Gonzalez, Prime Minister Brown of Antigua, Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell, Prime Minister Drew, Prime Minister Davis of the Bahamas, so CARICOM was very well represented at the very highest level. The African Union, well, of course, we had the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, we had the President of Angola, who is current chair of the African Union. We had the head of the African Union Commission, which is like our Secretary General of CARICOM. So it was we had a representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations who spoke at the opening ceremony. So it was a very high-powered summit. And that summit produced two documents. It produced a general communique that reflected some of the things I've already spoken about, but then there was also a very special declaration on reparations.
Coming to that.
Reparations, yes. Actually, the theme of the summit surrounded reparations, the pursuit of justice for Africans and people of African descent through reparations. So, in fact, the first session of the summit was about reparations and how Africa and the Caribbean are going to work together in pursuit of reparations. So we have our CARICOM Reparations Commission, we have our 10-point reparations plan. So it was agreed that Africa will set up counterpart institutions. So they're going to set up their African Committee of Experts on Reparations, including a panel of legal experts, and they're going to produce their African Common Position on Reparations and their program of action. So it would be like the counterpart of our 10-point plan. And then it was agreed that we will establish between the African Union and CARICOM a joint mechanism on reparations. So we have our structures and plan, they will have their structures and plan, and then we create this joint mechanism. It was also agreed that we will have henceforth annual reparations conferences together, that we will engage much more with the United Nations system on reparations. We will have engagements with institutions like the United Nations Permanent Forum for people of African descent, just to give one example. So a lot of work was done on this issue of reparations. And so the groundwork has been laid for a very strong African Union CARICOM partnership in achieving reparations. And I should also say that in addition to Africa and the Caribbean coming together, it was also agreed that we will also have, the two of us together will then launch a kind of global Africa initiative where we will reach out to other parts of the African diaspora, you know, like our brothers and sisters in Latin America, in the United States, wherever African people are. But the Caribbean and Africa will be the foundation, the core of that wider initiative, you know?
That's interesting. You know, I know there's a lot that came out of the summit itself, but I want to move to something else that happened while you were there. The opening of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam.
Yes.
And that was a very signal moment for a lot of Ethiopians. Can you share the significance of it?
Yes. So the summit was in Addis Ababa on the 7th. On the 9th, Ethiopia had this tremendous event. Over the last, maybe 13, 14 years, Ethiopia has been building the GERD, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. This is a dam on the Blue Nile. You know, the Nile River is that historic river. And the Nile River has two tributaries. There's the White Nile that starts in Uganda. There's the Blue Nile that starts in Ethiopia. And they run through Sudan into Egypt, down into the Mediterranean. So a big problem in Africa is that lack of electricity. Big problem. So the Ethiopians have built this dam. The wall of the dam is over a mile long, and the height of the dam is some 500 feet high. So it was a massive engineering feat that took them well over a decade to build. And what made it so significant is that the international funding agencies refused to finance it. And so the Ethiopian people said, that will not defeat us. We will fund it ourselves. So ordinary Ethiopian citizens made donations to it became a national project. People purchased government bonds. People just made civil servants. People just made donations. And they finally achieved it. And so they had this inauguration ceremony on the 9th. And Prime Minister Motley was one of the guests, and she gave remarks on behalf of the Caribbean people. I don't know if you have that clip, but it would be good. It would be good to have it. This dam is going to produce well over 5,000 megawatts of electricity. In other words, this dam will produce more than twice the quantity of electricity that Ethiopia currently generates. And Ethiopia has pledged to share that electricity not only with Ethiopia but with neighboring countries like the Sudan, etc. You know, so it was tremendous. It was tremendous that Prime Minister Motley could be part of that very historic ceremony. And I think the great thing about it is not just that it's a magnificent feat of engineering, but the fact that the Ethiopian people funded it themselves.
The people came together to do this, and it's for their greater good. I think you're right, and it's inspiring. It is inspiring that it happened in Ethiopia, and it is inspiring that it happened then as well, and that it reaches out to share with others, which is also the spirit of what we do in CARICOM as well. So there's so many similarities that as I'm listening to you, that I could see and identify between ourselves and those in Africa about how we approach life, how we approach systems of life, and the people who are part of the systems, who are always at the center of everything that we do. And so we had the summit, we had the opening of this great feat of the world in Ethiopia indeed. And folks, I want to take you into somewhere else, but I'll do that right after this break. Don't move it, because it is going to be a very interesting journey from here. We're back in a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb, and together we will travel the world.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
God will not give you a job. God will not call you to do something and then not give you the capacity to have it, to make it happen. He will give you the resources, He'll give you the people. Not only will He equip you with ideas, but He will equip you with favor.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Our conversations on CARICOM continue now as we are continuing to look at the recent visit to Ethiopia for the second, this time in-person summit between Africa and CARICOM and all of the other things that flowed therefrom, part of which, and I'm sure you have the question, but why did they take the Rastafarians? Ambassador, what would you respond to that?
Well, it was a CARICOM decision that this summit, the first in-person meeting of brothers and sisters long separated, you know, the African people of the Caribbean and the continent, that it was such a historic event that we felt that our delegations coming from the Caribbean should not only be governmental people, that we should make a space within the delegation for representatives of our Caribbean civil society who have been on the battlefield, you know, for many years, fighting the cause of Pan-African unity. And so Barbados decided that the Rastafari, representatives of the Barbadian Rastafari community, would be the appropriate civil society people to be part of our delegation. And as it turned out, there's a special place for the Rastafari in Ethiopia, because you already mentioned the name Shashamene. Mm-hmm. And Shashamene is a settlement of African people from the diaspora at the behest of Emperor Haile Selassie. Back in 1948, the emperor made a grant of land in Ethiopia at a place called Shashamene, and he extended an invitation to black people, African people in the diaspora, to come home and settle in Ethiopia at Shashamene. And it was really the Rastafari who responded to that invitation. And so we now have Rastafari from Jamaica principally, but also from Trinidad and from Barbados and from other Caribbean islands who have been living in Shashamene for many years now. So the summit was on the 7th in Addis Ababa, and on the 8th, we all made that journey to Shashamene to visit our Caribbean Rastafari brothers and sisters in Shashamene.
What was that like? And I'm asking that within the context of, I had a conversation on that same couch there with a gentleman last week, and he said, when I asked him, why did you settle and develop in Ghana? And he said, why not go where you are appreciated and not just tolerated? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that I thought was a significant comment to make. And so here we are, you are now among people who are appreciated, not just tolerated because they're in the land where they are recognized to be similar. What was it like for you?
Yeah, well, no, it was, as I indicated, we got such a warm welcome when we landed at the airport nearest to Shashamene. And part of that welcome was our Rastafari brothers and sisters. And I think I brought back some photos of the unity, the brotherhood and unity that we felt in Shashamane. They hosted us. We went into Shashamane. They hosted us in the town hall in Shashamane. Prime Minister Ralph Gonzalez spoke on behalf of CARICOM. Different leaders from the community spoke. And then they took us to the headquarters of the 12 tribes of Israel in Shashamane. Remember, I said that we had in our delegation Sister Kaya, Benjamin, Anthony Straker, Steve. Sister Kaya is one of the executive officers of the 12 tribes of Israel here in Barbados. So we heard from the leaders of the 12 tribes in Shashamane. But you know, personally, I took a very great interest in this part of the whole expedition because you know as you may know, I wrote this book, and you know, as much as we revere Shashamane and the land grant that the emperor gave in 1948. Contrary to what many people believe, that was not the first land grant. The first land grant that the emperor actually gave was to this Barbadian by the name of Rabbi Arnold Josiah Ford, way back in 1931. So for this book is called The Pan-African Love Story of Arnold and Mignon Ford. And for Barbadians who are not quite aware, Arnold Ford and his wife, Mignon Ford, two Barbadians, they actually migrated to Ethiopia in 1930 and 1931. So he actually led basically the first major repatriation initiative to Ethiopia. And they established an agricultural settlement. They brought with them over 100 Afro-Caribbeans and African Americans to settle in Ethiopia in the 1930s, and they in fact died in Ethiopia. They produced two sons who went on to become great academics. They became professors at Howard University. They too are both buried in Ethiopia. So because of my interest in all of this, and I'm working with their granddaughter to establish Arnold and Mignon Ford Foundation, which we are going to use. We're going to use that foundation to really build a relationship between Barbados and Ethiopia. And so what we want to do in building that relationship is to reach out to communities like Shashamane, to our Rastafari brothers and sisters. And so in addition to my visiting them in Shashamane, I extended to them, I asked them, the representatives of the Caribbean and Rastafari communities in Ethiopia, to meet with me. And so the following on the Tuesday, on the 9th, I turned the lobby of my hotel into a massive conference room, and from 9:30 in the morning to 5 in the evening, I met with dozens, literally dozens of representatives of our Caribbean community, hearing their experiences, hearing their life stories, getting an insight into some of the problems that they face, and seeing how perhaps CARICOM, Barbados, how we can strengthen the relationship, how we can be of some assistance to them in helping them with some of the issues that they face.
We've seen on our screen some of those meetings you were having.
Yes. So that's that's the hotel lobby that I turned into a conference room. And so I came away with a very good insight into some of the issues that they face. And I am very hopeful that we are actually going to set up that, if we set up that CARICOM office or embassy in Addis Ababa, then that will be an embassy that can respond to their concerns. This is, let me say, this is Dr. Desta Meghu that is pictured with me, and I am there at the entrance of the Pan-African wing of the Institute of Ethiopian Studies at the University of Ethiopia. And I really have to thank Dr. Meg Hu, because she's the curator of the Pan-African wing, and she did me the great honor of including in the Pan-African wing my book, The Pan-African Love Story of Arnold and Mignon Ford. So any Ethiopian scholar going to the Institute of Ethiopian Studies can actually read this story of these two Barbadians. So,
and there you are,
yes,
pointing out the book.
Yes, that's in the Pan-African wing of the Institute of Ethiopian Studies. It's a beautiful exhibition. It chronicles the Pan-African movement, the Caribbean contribution to the Pan-African movement. So not only Arnold and Mignon Ford, but also the Rastafari contribution to the Pan-African movement. So it was a wonderful visit.
If I know you well, sorry, you're not going to stop right there. Did you get a chance to visit the grave site of these outstanding Barbadians?
That was the final thing I did in Ethiopia. I spent that whole day meeting with all these folk, and I said to my hosts, I have to find time to visit, first of all, the school that Mignon Ford established in Ethiopia that transformed education in Ethiopia, the Princess Zenebi Walk School, a very famous school in Ethiopia. So I did visit that. And then I said, we have to visit the graves, because Arnold, Mignon, and their children, Yosef and Abby. And by the time we got to the grave, the cemetery, Pearson, it was pitch black.
I love this story. I love this.
The cemetery was shut. We had to persuade the guard to open the gates of the cemetery to let us in. We had to explain, this is a visitor coming to visit the grave. You know, we don't have any other time to do it. And then we had to, in the pitch blackness of the night, we had to search for the graves of, so the first photo showed me at the grave of Mignon Innes Ford. The second, that photo, that's the grave of Mignon. And then the second photo, that's the grave of her two sons, Professor Yosef Ford and Professor Abby Ford. So these are great sons of Barbados. And with me is Brother Ambrose of the Ethiopian World Federation, and Sister Janelle, who is one of the leaders of the community there in Addis Ababa. So it was very moving for me, you could imagine.
I can imagine.
In the middle of the night, in this cemetery, finding the graves of these great Barbadian pioneers. And I am, so, you know, if I was committed before to this mission, to bring this story, this inspirational story to the attention, first of all, of the Barbadian people, but indeed of all African people. I mean, this is, the life story of Arnold and Mignon is so inspirational. This man was second only to Marcus Garvey as the face of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. This is the man that wrote the Garvey anthem, that wrote the anthem of the Rastafari movement, you know, and this was the lady who played a role when the Italians invaded Ethiopia. She was in the resistance movement. She fought for the independence of Ethiopia, and then she went on to form this school that played such a critical role in uplifting women in Ethiopia. So if Barbadians are looking for heroes, you know, these are two of our greatest heroes. And but we need to know more about them, and we need to, well, I am certainly committed, along with their granddaughter, Minnie Abby Ford. We are working, Dr. Myrna Belgrave here in Barbados, and some of the other Barbadian Pan-Africanists. We are all working together to establish this foundation that will be a link between Barbados and Ethiopia, and that will be able to partner with our Rastafari brethren, our Caribbean brethren. And so, yes, Pearson, I mean, this was just a wonderful, wonderful visit.
My imagination is still rolling. You ought to forgive me here. Paint for me the picture of Shashamane. What does it look like? You were there.
Well, I would say, unfortunately, we didn't get the opportunity to go deeply into the community, to actually go on to the, let's say, the agricultural holdings of our Rastafari brethren. We basically, because it was a pretty short visit, so we basically we had the civic reception. We went to the headquarters of the 12 tribes. So I would say we more experienced our brothers and sisters. We were able to commune with them. I think I gave you a photo where I am in a line with a number of our Rastafari brothers and sisters, and we are making the sign, the Rastafari sign. Yes, there it is. Yes, those are elders of the community in Shashamane.
Again, looking like us.
Yeah,
faces that look so
those are our
familiar.
people. No, those are our people.
Oh, those are our people.
Yeah. Those are
okay.
Those are Rastafari elders who originally would have come from the Caribbean. And I should say, I also gave you a photo of the Bajan. There's a Bajan family that I was so thrilled to meet in Addis, and that Bajan family seemed to be doing. That's them right there. These are Bajan faces. This is a family. The mother, she migrated to Ethiopia many years ago. Those are her children, born in Ethiopia. No, but suffice to say, on the journey to Shashamane, as we got into Shashamane, this is a very physically beautiful. Well, Ethiopia in general is a very beautiful country. You know, it's a massive country. It has a population of well over 100 million people. It's one of the really powerful countries of Africa. There are 55 different countries on the African continent. Ethiopia is one of the giants, one of the giants of Africa. And it's a very beautiful country. And it's an ancient civilization. I mean, it's a country that it has its own language, its own alphabet, its own calendar. In fact, when we were in Ethiopia, we celebrated Ethiopia's New Year, New Year's Day. And that was their New Year's Day in September. And they were now entering the year 2018.
Wow.
So Ethiopia does not follow the Western calendar. They have their own calendar. So this is a country that was never colonized. So it is an African civilization in its own right. And you get a sense of mystique and I would say even mystery in that country of a real ancient culture. We got to experience some aspects of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. I mean, it is one of the oldest Christian churches, going back to the 4th century of the Christian era. So this is a very, very intriguing country, and I can see why so many of our people, having to choose a country in Africa to migrate to repatriate back to, have selected Ethiopia. Yeah.
Wow. So all of this said, we had the summit, we had the opening of the dam, your visit to Shashamane. What do you think is the overall message or lesson for people of the region as it relates to our relationship with Africa, or decisions as to where to travel and stay and live and work as well?
Well, I mean, just open your eyes. You see the kind of world that is shaping up. You see some of the divisions and conflicts that have emerged. It should be clear now to all Africans and people of African descent that we have to unite. We have to unite for our own safety, for our own self-preservation, for our own future development. We have to look to our brothers and sisters. And we who are descendants of Africans who were enslaved, who were brought across that Middle Passage, when we look back across that Atlantic, we see this magnificent African continent 12 million square miles, Pearson, the central landmass of planet Earth. Forget the map that they have foisted upon us, this map of the world that shows Africa, condensed. And no, the Peters projection map shows the correct dimensions of the world. Africa is the central landmass of planet Earth. 55 different countries, the African Union, bringing them together. 1.4 billion people. The youngest population on the planet. So there is so much to be gained by Africa and the Caribbean coming together. There's so much to be gained by us making the effort to build out global Africa, bring in that Pan-African movement that Marcus Garvey and Blyden and George Padmore and Kwame Nkrumah and all the greats struggled for over the years. We can now see more clearly the validity of that Pan-African idea and that Pan-African agenda. And I can say that CARICOM has made a firm decision that our future is going to be in partnership with our brothers and sisters on the African continent. And if we can only get these direct flights in place between the west coast of Africa and the Caribbean, I think we would have put the fundamental structure in place that will allow that relationship to flourish. At the summit, there was a lot of mention in the outcomes document about the African Export-Import Bank. The fact that after 500 years of history, we finally have the first continental African institution to ever establish a presence in the Caribbean. And it is right here in Barbados. Barbados is the Caribbean headquarters. The African Export Bank has 5 different trade centers on different parts of the continent. So the Barbados Trade Center that is going to be built in Jamet's Lane, they're going to invest some $360 million in building that trade center. That will now become part of a network of these trade centers that link us to Egypt and Nigeria and other parts of Africa. So that is going to create a kind of structure that will help us to do the trade, the investment, and we not only Afri-Exim Bank, but we had in Ethiopia representatives of the Caribbean Development Bank. We had representatives of the CARICOM Development Fund, of the African Development Bank. So the idea has taken root. Just like the Ethiopians built the dam themselves, we have our own financial institutions in the Caribbean, on the African continent. That if we can bring them together in a nexus, we can finance much more of our own development. And of course, underpinning it all is the partnership in reparations, because reparations is not just about getting some money out of the people who, it's about much more than that. It's about development. It's about tackling the underdevelopment that has been foisted upon us because of that history. It is about reforming the international financial institutions, reforming the whole international political and economic order so that that international order becomes more fair and more supportive of countries like ours. You see, and so if we pursue this in partnership with Africa, it means that we are mobilizing real strength to make real breakthroughs and to deliver real development.
I know we had a pitch you wanted to share with us of the dam. Talk to me again. Right, the Prime Minister's speech of the right.
Yes.
I think we've got it.
Oh, yes.
Which we can share with the audience
historic.
now. Let's
That's
take a look
historic.
together, everybody.
That's historic.
Your Excellency Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, my dear brother, and Mrs. Ahmed, distinguished heads of state and heads of government of Africa, distinguished guests of the people of Ethiopia. If this was to achieve simply the provision of water and energy to the people of Ethiopia and surrounding countries, it would be a marvel of history, a marvel of engineering, and a boon for the prosperity of the people of this region. But if we are to be honest, it is not simply the achievement of what has been done here for the provision of water and energy and the catalytic effect that it will have on economic and social development and security, but it is the journey. Above all else, the journey. The journey of a people who have remained proud throughout history, who have attested that the origins are here, and who have defied all attempts to keep them down. When we toured the facility in the last few hours, I turned to my brother and I said, "This is the ADWA engineering feat." And I say so for those who do not know, including many from my own Caribbean community, that when the international world determined that this project was not to see the light of day, that it was not to receive the financing of companies that like to make money and therefore were usually only interested in repayments, that when that befell the people of Ethiopia, the people stood tall, and the people determined that this project was not beyond them, and that it was going to see the light of day, even if it meant that every person who could give, however small, however large, could do so, and even if it meant that it would take much longer than it would otherwise have taken to build. The people of Ethiopia stood tall and put their money where their mouth is.
And there we go, Prime Minister Mia Amon Bartley addressing in Ethiopia the inauguration of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. And what a speech. Again, connecting with the people and connecting with the purpose.
Yes.
And I think, as you saw from the response and the applause and everything else, how the message rang true for every one of them.
Yeah, well, Prime Minister, what do you say about Prime Minister Motley? I mean, Prime Minister Motley now is perhaps the leading stateswoman of the world, I would say, you know, and you will see when the Ethiopians in this very proud moment, who do they choose to invite to come and address them from outside the continent of Africa? Our Prime Minister, and she, I mean, as usual, she hit the ball out the park, you know, because that dam is symbolic of what we can achieve. A marvel of an engineer, a tremendous engineering feat, but founded on our own support.
And there it is on your screen,
folks. The people of Ethiopia doing it themselves, self-generated development and creating something that is a marvel of engineering excellence. That will be used to solve real people developmental problems, giving people electricity and water. So what a better, I mean, just look at the magnificence of that structure, right? This is the single largest hydroelectric project on the African continent. So that is a symbol. I think we have ended on the right note, because that dam is a symbol of the bright, beckoning future that is ahead of us if we come together as an African family, those of us, as Marcus Garvey said, Africans on the continent, Africans at home and abroad, what we are now calling global Africa. That dam symbolizes what we can achieve on the basis of Pan-African unity.
This has been fulsome, really, really satisfying indeed. Ambassador Kamashong, for this conversation on CARICOM, we are eternally grateful to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for the privilege, Pearson, of being able to speak to you about this really exhilarating visit to our brothers and sisters in Ethiopia.
You're very welcome. We're breaking here, folks. We're back in a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
God will not give you a job. God will not call you to do something and then not give you the capacity to have it, to make it happen. He will give you the resources, He'll give you the people. Not only will He equip you with ideas, but He will equip you with favor, as He did Nehemiah.
Turn on the latest episode of Infinite Possibilities, only on CBC TV8, every Sunday at 1:30 p.m., sponsored by Covenant Life Teaching Center.
Welcome to Nature's Discount, the ultimate health food store. At Nature's Discount, we have thousands of quality products at great prices.
Hi guys, Dottie here with Nature's Discount, and today we are talking about Solar Ray Microbiome Probiotics and why you should be taking them.
And we have well over 3,000 amazing products to help you get healthy.
For your health tips, tune in to CBC TV8 every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday for Nature's Discount, sponsored by Get Healthy Incorporated.
Week after week, Scold presents exciting reports and documentaries on the most varied topics of our time. Spectacular developments and innovations, lifestyle and trends of tomorrow, mobility and tourism, health news, highlights from art and culture. Each contribution grabs the viewer with extraordinary images and stories and takes him into fascinating worlds which he experiences here exclusively and up close. We're there when companies and specialists...
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
10 minutes now to go to 7 o'clock. Ask about Alzheimer's, ask about dementia. That's the theme for World Alzheimer's Month, which we're also celebrating here in Barbados this month of September. And so the Alzheimer's Association of Barbados continues to agitate, to educate, and to inform all of us about the condition and to provide us opportunity to be able to ask those questions. Kyla Branch is with me. She, of course, is one of the executive members of the board of the Barbados Alzheimer's Association. Kyla, good to have you again.
Good morning. Happy to be here
First of all,
again.
you too. First of all, the last time you were here and the pin I was wearing the badge, people were asking, are y'all selling? And you say?
And I say that if persons wish to have a pin, we actually do have them available. However, it is not for sale, but you can donate towards the association because, of course, you know, we are a charity. Yes. And every dollar counts. And so we have the opportunity for persons then to, you know, out of graciousness, to offer some amount when they do receive a pin. But it is not a mandatory, okay, you receive a pin and you have to give us $10, for example.
Process is always important. So anyone who's now still asking, how can they make their little contribution to have their pin?
Contributions are absolutely welcomed. And so, of course, you can call us at the office number 234-6853, and you will speak to Jackie Walcott. That would be one option. The second one, you can email us at Barbados Alzheimer's Association at gmail.com. So, for example, if you have a corporate entity and you would like to have a number of pins, you can email us at that email address. And every last Friday of the month, we actually do have a booth set up at Massey Warrens, where you can go in the morning period and you can of course see the booth, and of course the pins will be there. There'll be a number of things there, in fact, some of the bands and so on, literature as well. And so you can visit us there and of course offer our donation, which we will very much graciously and gratefully accept.
I'm so glad to hear that. Folks, it's important that you get out there and give full support, because this is a condition that touches every family on this island. I don't think there's anyone who has been spared by this, and so the ignorance is what can retard you, but the education is what will empower you. And that's what is going to be a part of what's happening this evening.
Exactly, yes. I mean, we have our inaugural memorial lecture, of course, hosted in Pamelia Burton's name. And of course, we know Pamelia, we spoke a number of times about Pamelia and her outstanding work and her commitment to Barbados and the Barbadian community. And it's so interesting that we're following, of course, the portion on legacy that was just described by Ambassador Comishong, because of course not only can Pamelia align in terms of outstanding Barbadians who have pioneered in this area of Alzheimer's disease, but we also have to share the story, because ultimately through sharing the story and educating person, it will inspire others. And of course all of this he would have mentioned, but it is absolutely true. And so this of course would be the impetus for our memorial lecture for Pamelia upon her passing last year, unfortunately.
It's at 5:30 this afternoon.
It is at 5:30 this afternoon at the St. Paul's Conference Center. And we're hoping that a number of persons come out. We certainly do have the support of the Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs. We have the support of National Assistance Board. And we're expecting that a number of persons come out, because a number of persons were touched by Pamelia's story and her efforts within the area. And certainly in addition to that, we also have Dr. Ermine Bell, of course, the retired consultant psychiatrist, who is one of the founding members of the association and will be presenting this evening as well. And of course, we're very proud of her as well and her impact with respect to the Barbadian landscape.
So we really want you to come out this evening in numbers, folks. It's the St. Paul Conference Center on Bay Street. The St. Paul's Conference Center on Bay Street. And it's behind the St. Paul's Anglican Church, literally. If you can drive through there by Bayview Hospital and you go towards it, or you can enter by the church and walk over to it if you choose to do so. And so we want you to turn up your numbers. And while there, for those couple of hours, we have a chance not just to hear the lecture, but to ask questions.
Exactly. It's very, very important to ask. Of course, as you would have rightly mentioned, our theme, in conjunction, of course, with Alzheimer's Disease International, is ask about dementia, ask about Alzheimer's. And it is through the asking of the questions and, of course, having this communication that we try to dispel some of the myths. We try to reduce the stigma associated, because there's still a lot of stigma associated with the condition. And ultimately, you ask questions, you seek information, you're better able to manage your own condition or the condition of others who are affected.
I know there's another opportunity coming up also for more asking. Because you're asking the expert.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
So our Ask the Expert panel discussion will be held on the 20th of September. And we're very, very pleased about these panel discussions as well, because we bring a number of persons in various facets who will, of course, then be present to provide information for the general public. Some of the persons that we do have, I'm sure persons are very well aware of Dr. Ambrose.
It's on your screen, folks.
Oh yes, we have it there. Dr. Ambrose Ramsey, who is also a member of the association, and of course a gerontologist. And he, of course, will give all the information as it relates to dementia, what it is, and how we and the way forward. Very, very important information, because if we don't know where we are, then of course, how are we going to best manage the scenario? And you have a...
Yes, it's part of the... Some people assume it's just a natural part of the aging. It is not necessarily a natural part of the aging. No,
it is not a natural part of aging. It's not something that automatically, as you increase in age, that you will succumb to dementia symptoms and, of course, Alzheimer. Of course, we know that age is a risk factor. And remember, we discussed that there were 12 risk factors, age, of course, being one of the non-modifiable ones. So, yes, it is a myth that we are certainly ever constantly talking about, because it is something that is perched in persons' minds.
And just wouldn't leave. And so you have an opportunity then. When is this opportunity, by the way, to ask the expert?
On the 20th of September,
That's this coming
that
weekend.
is this coming weekend, at the Garden Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so we expect that, of course, once again, similarly to this evening, that persons will come out in their numbers to ask questions, not only to Dr. Ramsey, but we also have a nurse practitioner, we have our president, actually, Dr. Evangeline Innes-Springer, who will be presenting in the area of dementia and disaster awareness as well, which is of course very important. And clearly we are in the hurricane season, and ultimately we need to give persons information as to what they can do to best prepare for such an event. You know, as I would have mentioned, as I always say, we must dig the well before we are thirsty. We cannot wait until the disaster is upon us to then try to scramble together and figure out what to do. So whilst we are trying to gather all of the water and canned foods and so on, we must think about, okay, what do I need to do for my relative or for an elderly person, an elderly neighbor in this capacity? What can I do?
So this opportunity is also good not just for the individual family, but for carers, people who have homes that take care of people.
Absolutely.
It's important that you show up. It begins at 4 in the afternoon.
Yes.
It's for a couple hours at the Garden Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Yes,
right
please.
there is Mount Standfast St. James. You can't miss it. It's on the main road. You'll see it. You'll see it for sure. Ample parking. And so we want to encourage you on the 20th of the month to come ask the experts to get the answers that you're seeking. It begins at 4 in the afternoon.
Definitely so.
And you know, then I know for sure on the 21st. For sure I have to on Friday wear my purple. It's already set aside. A plan in my wardrobe for the week is already set aside.
I am loving to hear it.
And so we want people to proudly wear their purple on Fridays. And that's what this is about. You wear in support of your awareness of Alzheimer's and the condition and the people who are living with Alzheimer's and dealing with others and caring for people who are living with Alzheimer's. And so stand up, wear your purple, and take your picture.
Absolutely. Take your picture and of course tag us, Barbados Alz Association on Instagram, because we love to see the pictures. And I can tell you, I'm sorry that I didn't forward some of these videos, but I know I will have some moments in the future to do so. But we've actually had some good input and support from our local entertainment industry. A number 2 years ago, actually, Mikey did a video for us outlining, let us rally behind Alzheimer's awareness and wear your purple. Faith Calendar did the same. Grateful Co also was involved, and Lead Pipe. And so we were very, very, very appreciative because, persons also believe that this is an older person condition, that it's not something that can relate to the younger ones. And of course, this is a myth because we have early onset dementia. Any person who is under the age of 65 can also suffer from dementia symptoms and from Alzheimer's. And so we try to also allow persons to recognize and understand that this is the reason why we want to talk and ask questions regarding, because we want persons to be fully aware so that if they are suffering from any of these symptoms, that they go in early to their medical practitioner so that they can rule out or rule in, depending what their situation would be. In addition to that, youth inclusion is very important because at the end of the day, we want to ensure that the younger person is also rallying together to the community effort that we do have in the fight against Alzheimer's. And so it is not we're segmenting the condition because it affects everyone. It affects the patient, it affects the formal and informal caregiver, it affects the family members. Of course, the grandchildren are watching on as the patient may be losing their short-term memory. And of course, they're going to be wondering, why is it that this person or why is it that auntie doesn't remember my name? I mean, is it something that I did wrong? Why is she getting on like this? Did I, am I aggravating her? And so these are things that we have to discuss with the youth. And so we try to find a number of creative ways to keep the youth involved above and beyond simply just wearing the purple, but once again, asking the questions, having the communication and engaging with the community.
Indeed. So folks, this evening, 5:30, St. Paul's Conference Center is that lecture, that public lecture in honor of Pamelia Brereton, the founder of the Barbados Alzheimer's Association. Dr. Ermin Bella, co-founder, will be presenting. You need to be there to ask your questions and to engage in the conversation. Then coming up on the 20th this weekend, you get a chance to ask the experts at the Garden Seventh-day Adventist Church. That begins at 4 in the afternoon. It's just a couple hours, but it's good couple hours indeed. We want all of you to show up for that as well. But Friday and every Friday this month, you are to wear your color purple. And in wearing your color purple, you take a picture of yourself and you tag the Barbados Alzheimer's Association. And let's blanket Barbados in purple on Fridays. You can go down to which mall?
The supermarket, yes. Massey Warrens, yes.
And while there, and you see the folks there, don't walk on by. Spend time, engage, make your donation, and you get either the pin, the band, or any other paraphernalia indeed. And we want you to raise and heighten your awareness of Alzheimer's, heighten your awareness of dementia so that you are better informed. And that's what this is all about. So you have better compassion, greater compassion and better understanding of how one lives with and treats to the condition.
Absolutely.
Kyla Branch, thank you so much again for joining me.
Thank you for being here.
As always, you're welcome.
And of course, you know, I welcome the opportunity to be here, and I love to be here to share the information with yourself, person, and of course, all of the listeners.
You're welcome indeed. We're taking a break here, folks. We're coming back in a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Week after week, Scald presents exciting reports and documentaries on the most varied topics of our time. Spectacular developments and innovations, lifestyle and trends of tomorrow, mobility and tourism, health news, highlights from art and culture. Each contribution grabs the viewer with extraordinary images and stories and takes him into fascinating worlds which he experiences here exclusively and up close. We're there when companies and specialists develop super satellites for a global network in space and can look behind the scenes. Scald is a window to everything that is there or is yet to come. Fly with us through time to better understand today and tomorrow. You've always wanted that. Scald, a look into the future.
Our world today is not the world God wants it to be. One of the reasons which will surprise many is that our planet, its governments, and its peoples are all living under the weight of Satan's rule. From the beginning of mankind's existence to today, human history is the written record of what it means.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Let's take a look at news now. Government is backing the Chief Justice's push to reduce case backlogs and to digitize court records. Speaking after the opening ceremony of the 2025 to 2026 legal year, Home Affairs Minister Wilfred Abrams said Barbados must guarantee timely trials and modern record keeping. Deanza Roberts reports.
While the Chief Justice noted progress in tackling the heavy caseload, Minister Abrams cautioned that more work lies ahead.
We've seen the backlog coming down, but it is a significant backlog. And while the Chief Justice has pointed to some improvements made and some victories won, right, we're not yet out of the woods on that. And it has to be a concerted effort by all the players involved. So the new initiative in relation to the certainty of trial dates is a good one, because quite frankly, unless things actually do come off, then all we can be able to pick at is the ones that can be mitigated or negotiated or settled. But for those, you will always have some matters that are incapable of being settled, where somebody wants their day in court. For those who want their day in court, or for those matters that require nothing less than a day in court, then there must be certainty and they must be able to have their day in court and a judgment be given and a judgment rendered.
He says government has been funding upgrades and will continue to invest once requests are justified.
Everything the police has asked for recently, everything the judicial system has asked for recently, right, they've gotten from the government. We've put our money where our mouth is. We've stepped up to say, yes, we accept that things don't happen by serendipity, that you have to invest money and upgrade our systems in order to get the results that you want. So I don't see this as being any different. Once the judicial system justifies what it's asking for, I don't see the government saying to it no, especially when there are clear reasons for developing infrastructure, there are clear reasons for technological advancement, and at the end of the day is to produce the most efficient justice system possible. Then yes, once that can be justified and the money can be seen to be going towards something better, then I don't see that they're going to have a problem.
The minister says these initiatives, certainty of trial dates and a paperless system, are essential to delivering an efficient, modern justice system. Deanza Roberts, CBC News.
With rising crime and violence across the region, Prime Minister Mia Motley says Barbados will not be a part of this trend, and she warns officials will continue to do everything in their power to arrest the situation here. She was speaking at the St. George North Branch meeting. Here's the report now from Rachel Agard.
With warships and submarines presently stationed in the Caribbean Sea, Prime Minister Mia Motley is warning that with its current trajectory, the world may be bumpy going forward. She says Barbadian officials are vehemently against drugs and crime and have been fighting to arrest the situation in Barbados.
But what we must not have in this region is war and other actions that will lead to persistent conflict, if not open warfare. Dialogue has never failed mankind. Never. If it did, the wars from hundreds of years ago would still be going on all like now. And whenever you end up in war, however long it takes, it is dialogue that brings what? Peace. And I can only urge from this humble place in the center of this country that I pray that all concerned will recognize that it is too easy for us to have face-to-face discussions. And I say so, conscious that the opposition and government in Venezuela, having reached decisions a few years ago to bring down the temperature before the elections, signed in Barbados the agreement not to go after each other.
And Prime Minister Motley also warned those who believe they can continue to terrorize communities across the country.
We have to find a way of making sure that the handful of people who feel that it is theirs to torment and to terrify communities in this country are invited to go to another country or to put it down. There are places where war exists. If war is your business and you like it, I am sure we can find a way to get you involved in the wars over there, but not in Barbados. And for us to succeed, it isn't only appropriate to say right, it is for us to go in our houses and when we see wrong, call out the wrong.
According to the Prime Minister, the country now has to have a conversation about the future of the nation's children, country, communities, and families.
That people have access to guns, the guns don't automatically shoot, somebody triggers it. That people, regrettably, and I've seen it, I've been around long enough to see the spikes and troughs with respect to drug use, substance abuse in this country.
Prime Minister Motley stresses that we now have to do the necessary to ensure Barbados remains on solid footing. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
Students and teachers of the Wesley Hall Junior School are now based in cooler conditions. Yesterday, they were relocated to Westbury Primary and St. Leonard's Anglican Church, where they will be for the remainder of the school term. Here's a story now from Anesta Henry.
Students and the teachers of Wesley Hall Junior School are now in cooler conditions at Westbury Primary and the St. Leonard's Anglican Church. Chief Education Officer Dr. Ramona Archer Bradshaw says all hands were on deck and measures put in place to ensure temporary locations were ready for today. She says she is pleased with the reception the students from Wesley Hall received from their counterparts.
We had arranged, as the Ministry of Educational Transformation, a shuttle service from the Wesley Hall Junior School. That was a bit delayed this morning. When I called the Chief Operations Officer, she said that there was a bit of a mix-up. However, the students will be here in very short order, and we do not expect that issue to continue for the rest of the week. All in all, in speaking with the parents, they seem to be satisfied with the new arrangement. And I know that the principal of the Wesley Hall Junior School, who's here, along with the members of staff, will do all that is necessary to make sure that these students are well integrated.
131 students from Wesley Hall Junior School are being accommodated at Westbury Primary, while 35 are at the St. Leonard's Anglican Church. Principal Craig Walter says all measures have been taken to ensure the students and the teachers are comfortable at the new locations.
I just want to say thank you to all of the parents for their assistance and their cooperation. We know that our nation's children are our priority, and I can assure that everything is being done to ensure that they receive the instruction which is due to them. And this morning things have gone incredibly well. The students are beginning to settle into their new environment here at Westbury, and we look forward to the continued support and cooperation of everyone involved.
They were moved from the White Park Wesleyan Holiness Tabernacle, where they were based last week, to facilitate major repairs to their King Street plant. They had to be relocated due to concerns regarding the heat at the tabernacle. 151 students are being accommodated at the YMCA. Anesta Henry, CBC News.
The Barbados Association of Retired Persons is marking its 30th anniversary next month with many events. Those celebrations will begin with a church service at Hawthorne Memorial Methodist Church on the 1st of October, which is also being observed that day as the International Day of Older People. Then, on the 24th of October, BARP will host a Freedom Bus Ride, being dubbed as a social event for members in good standing only. President Marlon Rice Bowen is encouraging members to register early for that scenic drive in air-conditioned comfort across the island, and notes that children will not be allowed at that event, which will accommodate 450 people.
And what's very important about the bus ride, and this is why the idea came about 3 years ago, we recognize that we need to combat social isolation, because a lot of our seniors don't get the opportunity to see Barbados. They probably just go to the supermarket, post office to collect the pensions back home, but not many of our seniors get the chance to see the South Coast, the West Coast, the airport, the port. So this bus ride gives them that opportunity to experience Barbados at a different level. And it's a day for seniors only.
The 25th of next month, October, BARP will be marking that 30th anniversary in grand style at the Hilton, Barbados, during which 2 outstanding members will be honored.
We will have the BARP's first honorees, and the first one is Edric David Griffith. Mr. Griffith was one of the founder members of BARP, but in addition to that, he was our first treasurer, and the accounting system which we have now, he set up that system years ago. So we want to honor Mr. Edric David Griffith, and we will be celebrating him on that night. And another honoree will be Anita Daniel, and Anita joined BARP the year it was formed, I think it's a few months after. But not only is she a card-bearing member of BARP, she participates actively in all of our events.
That's a look at news until now. We'll have more news coming up at 12 noon. Morning Barbados is back in just a moment.
Ensure your safety this hurricane season.
If you have any specific health issues or allergies, always wear medical alert tags or bracelets. Also, add pertinent medical information to your electronic devices. That hurricane safety tip was brought to you by Ensure Max Protein. Take your routine to the max.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Our world today is not the world God wants it to be. One of the reasons, which will surprise many, is that our planet, its governments, and its peoples are all living under the weight of Satan's rule. From the beginning of mankind's existence to today, human history is the written record of what it means to live under the rule of the devil. Yet that rule is coming to an end. And what a difference that will make.
Every Sunday at 9 a.m. on CBC TV 8, tune in for Tomorrow's World, sponsored by the Living Church of God.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Hey there, it's Mahalia. I want to share something that might be really helpful. If you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, depressed, or lonely and have no one to talk to, call Lifeline Barbados. We all face struggles at times in our lives. You're not alone. There's no need to feel ashamed or embarrassed. It's okay to reach out for support. Lifeline Barbados is completely confidential. No one else will know you called.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
18 minutes now after 7 o'clock as we turn our attention to artificial intelligence, and suddenly now nobody seems to be as scared as when we first started to talk about artificial intelligence. Somehow we understand it now. We see the funny ways in which people are making all sorts of videos about using artificial intelligence. We see how it has begun to enhance a lot of what we do. And who doesn't go on and do a little bit of chat GPT? Who doesn't do that? Who? Is it you? I don't believe you. I'm sure you do as well. Well, this man, Hayden Innes, has been living in this space for quite some time, living in this technological age where he, ahead of time, has been designing all sorts of infrastructure that responds to the needs of the people. And so he joins me now. Good morning to you, Mr. Innes.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How do you do?
Well, I'm doing very well, and thank you very much for having me. And just by way of saying it, you have two massive fans in this house.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we love you. We love you.
Thank you. I appreciate that indeed. Thank you very much. Let's get on to the business here now before my head swells any bigger than it is. Let's look at artificial intelligence. And again, it's one of those terms that has crept into our lexicography that forces us to engage with it. And so for the main word artificial, we begin to think of it as fake, as something that we need to dread. And you said, no, we don't have to.
Well, actually, we don't, Pearson. Interestingly enough, I was looking through some stuff just recently, and, I did my first artificial intelligence course, Intro to Artificial Intelligence, in 1984.
Wow.
And so we have been working with artificial intelligence ever since and developing things. Now, you mentioned, yes, that there could be a little bit of trepidation, perhaps, a little bit of elation, but, I would say, for instance, that all technology is neutral. Technology only becomes meaningful when you put it into the hands of people. So the quote unquote, the need or the approach to do good or bad with technology rests with the individual. And so what we are looking at right now is quote unquote the march of AI straight at us. And so, AI hadn't just been invented, it has been around for more than 50, 60 years.
And so with that context, I think we should begin to breathe a little deeper and understand that it is not going anywhere. One, it is something with which we have already been engaging. It's just going to require us now to be able not just to manage it, but to understand it and leverage ourselves therefrom. And so let's talk about where the Caribbean sits in relation to the rest of the world in our use of artificial intelligence and our ability then to be able to create using artificial intelligence. What do you say?
Well, the Caribbean has traditionally been a technologically underserved region. I mean, we've struggled to be quote unquote up with technology. And so, what we have done here, and I tell you what, Pearson, if you look around Barbados, just by way of saying this, if you walk around Barbados, you look around Barbados, we have a significant number of very smart young people. Mm-hmm. And so basically what we are saying in context of what you asked is that, let us bring those young people, quote unquote, into the place where AI is going to affect almost every aspect of their lives. You mentioned ChatGPT earlier on, and you asked who hadn't used it. What we have done here with a small team of very bright Barbadians is we have created something called Isle AI, which is a chatbot similar to ChatGPT, except that it is in a Caribbean and quote unquote Latin American context. So we are not followers anymore. We are in line with what is happening, and we are pacing the technology because it's going to affect how all of us do our jobs. It's going to affect how our children and how our grandchildren, actually do their jobs too. And so, the awareness, the ability to build it, the ability to develop it, the ability to understand it, the ability to speak it. Bravo. Just recently, I believe the Ministry of Education mentioned that they are going to introduce generative AI, into primary schools. Bravo.
You said you've created the Isle AI, which gives Caribbean context. Why was that critical to do?
Well, because if you go to ChatGPT and you remember Carifesta, right? Mm-hmm. And Carifesta was just outstanding. It was amazing. But the big conversations. There was a big conversation between Prime Minister Gonzalez, Professor Beckles,
Prime Minister Motley, and Ambassador Soma. Mm-hmm.
Yes, folks. And somebody in the panel, I think it might have been Ambassador Suma, asked a question about slavery. Mm-hmm. And there was a conversation happening, and the Prime Minister said, and I can't quote her exactly, but she said, while you all were having this conversation, I went to my phone and I went to Perplexity and I went to Copilot, both of which are quote unquote AI assistants. Mm-hmm. And she said, I asked the question about slavery. And she said, you know what? They gave me about 3 lines and then they said, I'm sorry, we cannot continue any further. Right? So what we have done, if she had gone to Isle AI, she would have gotten quote unquote a thesis almost on the subject. Because what we have created and what we want to share with our region is context and content specific for our quote unquote daily lives, affecting our people.
Again, it determines that we must know where to look. If we don't know where to look, then we could find ourselves looking in the wrong places.
Yes, and we could find ourselves doing the wrong things too. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the main concerns. Because you mentioned, people making videos and so on. And you hear, of some really, really unfortunate things, so you're absolutely right. one of our guiding principles, and this should be transferred, to our young people. One of our guiding principles is the responsible use of AI.
Mhm.
Yes, and so go ahead, please, sir.
The guardrails is what I know you want to get to, because it's all well and good. With every right comes a responsibility and a reaction. So therefore, there we go. And so let's talk a little bit about that, because there is fear in our community that it could, in the wrong hands, be used as a reckless tool as opposed to being a tool of empowerment and upbuilding. So let's talk a little bit about building in those guardrails so that we're sure that we're safer by its development and usage.
And that comes down to validation, because, for instance, again, we hear our leaders talk about disinformation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my, and I mean, everywhere you look these days, there is just so much disinformation. So what, we have done, as far as trust levels are concerned, is built into our model validation key points.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can't, let me just go Caribbean on you here. You can't just go in there and say whatever you like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's important.
Yes.
We've a lot of people have grown very comfortable with this whole thing called Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a platform that allows you, the user, to also manipulate the information therein. Let's talk a little bit about AI and, again, the guardrails, so that people, for nefarious reasons, don't begin to manipulate what's in there.
Yes, and that's it. All of artificial intelligence globally, all of the language models that have been the ChatGPT, et cetera, they get trained by the information that people put into them. They get trained by the data that is fed into them, and so on. And so if you feed false data into the models, it will have false data in there. Now, what you have to do, and by the way, the I would say that, I won't say the software, but the approaches, are built so that you can validate, things, and I'll tell you quite honestly, I have been in this business for, oh my God, for donkey's years.
Mm-hmm.
And the one truth that comes out is that, if people want to do bad things, and they are firmly determined to do bad things, trust me, there's nothing you can do to stop them.
That's the truth.
I mean, really,
Yes.
listen, I'm a mathematician person,
Mm-hmm.
and I often say to people, you build a system right now, and within 5 minutes, somebody somewhere is trying to game it.
Yes, that's so true. And so it's almost like buyers beware. That's your choice. You get it as is, and so we need to be careful of it. I want to talk to you now about the investment in young people in the technological space, and what do you see to be the scope of them? Because for a lot of them, sometimes it feels as if everything has already been made, said, and done. So what else can I do? And so they're lost in their own minds, trapped in that cycle that says there's nothing else I can do because someone else has already done it. What do you say to that?
Pearson, I'll tell you what, the first thing is, if you say somebody else has already done it, and so what's the sense of me doing it? You've lost 3/4 of the battle. All right. I'm sure and I will describe us as men of vintage.
Yes, indeed. That's all right. I accept that.
I accept that too.
Yes.
Well, we see, for instance, that we have a lot of young people who are very, very smart.
Mm-hmm.
They're bright. And so what we have to do, as I would say, people of vintage, not only you and I, but a lot of other people, is to quote unquote collect up these young people and mentor them and push them ahead. In my humble case, I got 4 really, super smart Barbadians, and over the period of a year, we built it. I trained them, I pushed them, I banged their heads against the wall some days. I hugged them some other days. My wife baked cookies some days, et cetera. But encouraged them, and so my admonition is, if we create the lanes for these young people to run, they're gonna take off like bullets. Unbelievable, because the talent pool is here. And so, I consider this for a moment, by the way. You could take 3 young people, and these 3 young people have just this blockbuster idea that can change the world. Barbadians, right? So pick them from St. Lucie, from St. Andrew, from St. Peter. And they are smart as a whip, and they can change the world. And so they say, let's get together and start something up, that will just change the world and move us forward. But I tell you, it's not so much that the kids are not able to have the good ideas. It is not so much that the kids, are quote unquote driven. What we have to do is make it easier for them to quote unquote do business. That's what I've seen. I have done some legwork with these kids that are just amazing, and I have learned some things. It makes my head spin. Have you tried registering a business?
I get you. Hey, then we're going to take a break, right? Because you've touched on a subject I wanted to look at when I come back as well. How does one get started? You're an innovator, and therefore you know well how to get started. Sometimes that first step can daunt you. We'll talk about that when we come back after this break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Hey there, it's Mahalia. I want to share something that might be really helpful. If you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, depressed, or lonely, and have no one to talk to, call Lifeline Barbados. We all face struggles at times in our lives. You're not alone. There's no need to feel ashamed or embarrassed. It's okay to reach out for support. Lifeline Barbados is completely confidential. No one else will know you called. They're there to offer a caring ear and guidance without judgment. And fellas, I want you to know asking for help is a true sign of strength. It takes real courage to reach out. You can also call Lifeline Barbados if you're worried about loved ones who are struggling and you need advice on how to support them. There's a saying, a problem shared is a problem halved, but not everyone has someone they can confide in. That's why Lifeline Barbados exists, to be there for you or someone you care about during tough times. Save this number. Lifeline Barbados is just a call away. Remember, you can reach out whenever you need to talk.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb, and together we will travel the world.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
God will not give you a job God will not call you to do something and then not give you the capacity to have it, to make it happen. He will give you the resources, he'll give you the people. Not only will he equip you with ideas, but he will equip you with favor, as he did Nehemiah.
Turn on the latest episode of Infinite Possibilities, only on CBC TV8, every Sunday at 1:30 p.m., sponsored by Covenant Life Teaching Center.
Welcome to Nature's Discount, the ultimate health food store. At Nature's Discount, we have thousands of quality products at great prices.
Hi guys, Dottie here with Nature's Discount, and today we are talking about Solar Ray Microbiome Probiotics and why you should be taking them.
And we have well over 3,000 amazing products to help you get healthy.
For your health tips, tune in to CBC.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're sitting talking with Hayden Innes, who is an artificial intelligence innovator. He's also a youth mentor. He's one of those who works with the young people who keep his head dizzy because they're so fantastic at what they do. And he's seen a number of them on this island who continue to challenge him simply because they're challenging the norm. And so they're creating new things and finding innovative ways of approaching what we engage with. And so this is where we are now. And so Hayden, thanks for sticking around first of all. But when I left you, I wanted to hear from you about how does one start? Because we have all the will in the world, we have all the ideas in the world, and we just want to do something. We try it in our bedrooms, but now where do we go with that? What do you say?
And that is a wonderful challenge. You know, when I first began to work in the corporate sphere, and I'm wearing my corporate battle dress this morning. But you know, the first thing my boss said to me when the second day I went to work, he said to me, and I quote, he said, "If you don't change the world, I will fire you." And so, you know, he said, I only hire the best. So two things: I was happy I was the best, but on the other side of that, I was unhappy that he could fire me. So basically, I went home and I went to work and invented a lot of stuff. And so what I have seen and what we can do is, I use the term make it easy, and that is not as easy as it sounds, because, folks have to register their businesses with a government agency, and they are beautiful people out there, but it takes a while.
Yes.
It is near impossible to set up a business banking account. The legal help to do all of the documentation, that's another quote unquote, hurdle to climb, et cetera, et cetera. And so, there's a lot to do. And so, the young person who has this idea, or the young people who have this idea, first of all have to get into the tenor of team building, because you can't do it all by yourself. I mean, you've got to realize that. And the good news about not being able to do it by yourself is when you get a team together, you're also building community.
Yes.
And that is crucial, because I often say, the less time you spend convincing, the more time you spend creating. So you build that team, and then you take the world on head on. Now, where you, I, and so on can help these young people, and I mean, concrete help, right? Seriously, concrete help. We can make it easier for them to set up their businesses. They're our local people. They're our kids, present. They're our kids. They're our grandkids.
Yes.
And we want to be very proud of them, and they're smart. So let's help them. So we can make it easier to do that. We can make it easier to do the banking. We can make it easier for them to do the legal stuff, quote unquote legal stuff. And interestingly enough, AI can help with all of that. We won't get into that just right here, and that's another conversation. But AI can actually move that process along. So you know, one of the things I say to this team here on a consistent basis, you know, they will say, well, you know, we don't have X, Y, and Z, or we can't do X, Y. Never say we can't, never say we don't have. Be creative.
Well said. Just as go ahead.
No, please. Yes.
Yeah, I like that. Be creative! ! Or be creative! Full stop. And that's the whole point. You know, just do it. Just do it. Use the Nike. Sorry, Nike, but just do it.
Yes. I mean, you know, there was a former president of the United States. I think his name was Woodrow Wilson, who once said, "I've known many a poor genius."
Yes, yes, indeed so. Let's talk about protection, though, because it's also in that space in which you work. It's very predatory, and so therefore one must be able to, in all that space, protect one's own investment, one's own work. How challenging or easy is that?
That also is very challenging. You know, a couple of the things we've done is we've trademarked, ILAI in Barbados, and we've trademarked ILAI in the United States. I lived there for quite a number of years and operated at a senior corporate level. So know a lot of folks and know how to do a lot of things, patented a lot of stuff. And so, that's part of the legwork that you do. You trademark your stuff, you patent your stuff, so to speak. And so you basically put up a sign on the front gate that says trespassers will be prosecuted.
And that should do the trick. That should do the trick. But it's also about policing, because at the end of the day, still, unless you police carefully, or you use the technology to ensure that the burglars don't breach your secure systems, you find yourself out to sea.
Well, that's true. And I'll tell you what, security and privacy, okay, are two of the biggest things that we care about. So for instance, our ILAI is hosted out of one of the hyperscalers, cloud out there, which all of the security around it, but also our edge security is done by Cloudflare. So your data, your information, your name, your everything is protected at a level that unbelievable. I mean, it would be, I often say to folks, if somebody could break my password from my bank account, they deserve every penny I have.
Fort Knox. I love it indeed. So the challenge is on. The challenge is on. Hayden has just issued a challenge. I'm just teasing you. But Hayden, you've been such a wonderful man to talk to, because I think you've opened up the minds of our young people and some of us older ones as well, of our vintage, who can now see possibilities, who are again dreaming broader and bigger, who see that it is possible. And so we want to encourage our young people to use all of their creativity in the world, to use all of the tools to their access, to be able to create, and to see that artificial intelligence is not something about which they should be afraid, but that they can embrace, and to make a difference, to create tools that are workable for creating solutions, finding solutions, and also empowering them as a people as well. I think that's one of the takeaways I've taken from you today.
Oh, absolutely, Pearson. We had a launch a couple of weeks ago, and the young people were speaking, and their parents and a couple other folks were here sitting, on my terrace. Quite a few people, and I kept raising my hands and going, "These are your kids. These are your kids," and so on. And the point of all of this, as is basically that Barbados, our little rock, the Caribbean, our quote unquote country, God's country, the Caribbean, all right, Latin America, Mexico, Northern South America, etc. That what we have built here and what we are doing here puts Barbados on the map, because it is the very first generative AI chatbot in the entire Caribbean that is context and content specific to the Caribbean. So it pivots us or pushes us almost to the front of the line with AI, except that a lot of the other folks in there have had more years of experience doing it than we have. You know, so it puts us on the map. Then we get into, you know, the agentic AI, and we're doing tourism agents, we're doing traffic agents, etc. And you know, as you know, the key is to get, you know, all of our young people to see that you know, their world of work, you know, the things that they will do, you know, it's going to change. It has changed. It's not going to change. You know, I mentioned to someone the other day, I said, nobody is going to lose a job to artificial intelligence. And that is absolutely 100% true. Nobody is going to lose a job to artificial intelligence. You will lose a job to someone who knows how to use artificial intelligence well. You see, and that's where, you know, I mean, and that's where the world is going. You know, if you listen to the business channels, you know, and I listen to CNBC, you know, a lot, and Bloomberg, almost every third word, a noun, a verb, artificial intelligence.
Yes. You're right.
Yeah.
So Isle AI is your trademarked brand, and this is what you've created along with your young people.
Yes.
Generally, AI is integrated into whatever we use, whether it's my cell phone, my laptop, my whatever, my devices. It's integrated into it. Is Isle AI equally integrated into our the things we use?
Yeah, it not just yet. It will be. It is. As I mentioned, the closest analog, although we are not at that level as yet, the closest analog is ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc. So that's a level of integration that we live at.
Okay, so it's a lot still to wait on. We're waiting on it patiently, sir.
And we are delivering. You know, I tell the team, you know, the key word in life, not only in software or language models, the key word in life is delivery. All right, I keep delivery. I keep saying delivery.
Yeah.
Let's deliver.
That's right. Let's not lose sight of the deadline and the timelines and everything. We got to deliver. We have to deliver. And because it is such a competitive space in which you work, you know, you can't lie. If you lie, you lose. And that's the whole point here as well. So
absolutely, you know, your credibility gets banged up.
Yeah.
And so that's what you know. So you have to go in and quote unquote ease folks into the system, and then, you know, incrementally deliver. And the models exist for that. You know, this is not something new and groundbreaking. The models exist for that. That you know, you build a starter, and then you keep improving on the starter, and you keep improving on the starter. But the first step is you build a starter, and you build a starter with the concept in mind that you do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Right. I got you.
So yeah, and so that's what you do. And yes, you know, because you saw where, for instance, I think the organization was Perplexity or Anthropic, you know, who just recently had to pay $1.3 billion to content providers and so on, because they weren't entirely truthful, shall we say.
Yeah, understood. Hayden, I got to leave it there, but it was wonderful talking to you again. You know, very inspiring. I'm looking forward to the day that Isle AI becomes my primary use, my primary operating platform on which I would do my searches and all the rest of it. Hint. So I'm looking forward to that indeed. But thank you so much for sharing from your knowledge, your expertise, your wisdom, and encouraging and working with our young people to help them integrate themselves also into the future literally by using what's available today. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Pearson. It was a pleasure chatting with you. And like I said, remember, you got two big fans over here, my friend.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you so much indeed. Morning, Barbados.
All
Takes
right.
a break here. We're coming back in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Welcome to Nature's Discount, the ultimate health food store. At Nature's Discount, we have thousands of quality products at great prices.
Hi guys, Dottie here with Nature's Discount, and today we are talking about solar ray, microbiome, probiotics, and why you should be taking them.
And we have well over 3,000 amazing products to help you get healthy.
For your health tips, tune in to CBC TV 8 every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday for Nature's Discount, sponsored by Get Healthy Incorporated.
Week after week, Scald presents exciting reports and documentaries on the most varied topics of our time.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Or the legacies of Carifesta 15 are the memories of Carifesta 15 and the people who we've engaged with at Carifesta 15, one of who is Cynthia Malone. Do you remember her? Take a look. Cynthia Malone is literally a triple threat. She is a scientist, she's an artist, she's a poet, she's a creative indeed, and she's with me this morning on Morning Barbados. Cynthia, good morning to you.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How do you do? It's okay. You describe yourself as Afro-Guyanese. So you're from Guyana?
I grew up in New York in the diaspora, in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and then also we have a part of Queens called Richmond Hill, Little Guyana, Queens. So Afro-Guyana diaspora. Yes.
So therefore you have some links to Guyana through your parentage?
My dad's from Guyana.
Okay.
Yes.
And so you're driven about the environment and everything else. So talk to me about this passion for the environment. Is it simply because of your father's readings and talkings and messages to you?
I think it was more, I always had this inclination from being a very young child of being very interested in wildlife, especially primates. I dreamed of studying monkeys and apes in the jungle and was very determined to do that and progressed through the field and eventually made it to Indonesia to study orangutans and then other parts of the world. But it's only in the past 7 years that I started to research wildlife in the Caribbean in particular.
What have you found?
Many things, many things. I mean, one of the things that really I love so much about the Caribbean and our relationship to wildlife is how we've carried through our traditions from the African continent into the ecosystems that we've shaped in the Caribbean.
So explain that for me. What is it that I can tangibly see and understand about this transfer of African traditions into what we do?
Sure. I mean, there's so many ways in terms of herbalism, for example, certain herbs that we might use, that our grandparents might use when we're not feeling well, particular dances, poetry. There's so many different ways that our ecological relationships with, through and from the African tradition show up.
Is it a lonely job? Just going in there and say, I'm alone, don't disturb me, I'm looking for?
Well, it depends on who you count as being with you, I think. I study more recently howler monkeys in Guyana, and they are the loudest terrestrial land animal to exist. And they make this booming sound throughout the forests, the rainforests in Guyana. Yes, they're also in Trinidad as well.
Right.
But I've studied them in Guyana, and it's this. I have a piece that was just exhibited at the National Art Gallery in Guyana, Castellani House, called Resounding Ancestor, where I speak about that call as this overwhelming, beautiful sense of intimate relationship with the forest and with these animals. So you never feel alone in the bush.
So she says, you never feel alone in the bush.
Yes.
But you're also an artist. And when we say an artist, that's such a broad term. What is it you do specifically as an artist?
Sure. So here at Carifesta 15, I presented this 7-year-in-the-making project I've been building called Call and Response.
Call and
Black
Response.
Archives Across Borders of Being. And so it traces my journey as an ecologist, archiving my ancestry in Guyana as well as Barbados. My great grandmother was from here. I recently learned in the past 5 years.
Nice.
So it's a combination of going into communities, thinking about our relationships with wildlife, as well as studying wildlife, and then writing poetry about it. So the piece that I exhibited at Castellani House in Guyana fused the bioacoustics of the howler monkey with my poetry, with photography, and really getting us to think beyond some of the oftentimes colonial constructions of science that don't really match how a lot of us as Caribbean peoples, as African peoples relate to the environment. Art and science are inherently connected.
So where can we see your work?
Sure. You can check out my Instagram at Revolutionary Ecology, where I've been sharing more of what I presented here at Carifesta. Yeah, that's probably the best place for you.
One of the things that we've met with in the Caribbean, given our vulnerabilities to climate change, is climate change. And so have you been also looking at that and how the Caribbean is responding to the threat caused by the changes in climate?
Yes, actually, just last year, I was in Grenada for 6 months, and 3 of those months I spent in Carriacou. And I was there when Hurricane Beryl passed on July 1st, and in Carriacou we were in the eye of the storm, this Category 5 storm that was the earliest recorded Category 5 storm in Atlantic history. And as someone that studies climate change as well, it was just, there's nothing like that feeling of being in a hurricane and being in, it can be terrifying to experience nature as potentially a form of violence. I think there's a lot of ways that Caribbean peoples have this strong adaptation to the environment, and I think tapping into our inherent ecological knowledge, including from our ancestry on the African continent, to really think about innovative ways to address climate change through our epistemologies, our ways of knowing.
That's brilliant. That was Cynthia Malone, who I had a conversation with while doing the broadcasts from Carifesta, from the Grand Market. I'm sure you have all those feelings, those memories, those moments that you relive in your head over and over and over again, of the great times, the wonderful people who you've met, the wonderful cultures with which you've engaged, the food you've sampled and tried and delight to your own delight, the fashion in which you've immersed yourself, the different body products that were available. It just goes to show again that we are literally in a space in this universe known as the Caribbean that is rich with creativity, and finding ways to not just amuse ourselves but to enhance ourselves as well. We had a conversation just now on artificial intelligence, and now we were just taking a look with Cynthia on the whole question of sustainability and the like. And so we have everything that is required of us as a people of the Caribbean to be the best in the world and to continue to change and influence in positive ways the goings on in our world. But it requires all of us to be determined and to deliver. As Hayden said, deliver. And so that's it for today, everybody. We want to thank you so much for joining us. My little crew joins me in wishing all of you a great today. Be the will of the Lord. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Wake up.